Okay, we're live. Awesome. We are here with Debra Lloyd, and we are going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts if you create content, which is called Stop Stealing My Content. So as you come on, we're going to be looking in the comments over on the right, Debra. I'll keep track of those as well and let you know what we see. Drop your comments in and questions as we go. We'll just take breaks whenever Debra wants to answer questions. And if you're on Facebook, you may need to just approve that we can see your name. If you're on YouTube, I can see it already. All right, so let's jump in. Firstly, Debra, I want to just really quickly introduce you from my experience. Debra's been looking after our website at Content Sparks for 8 years, more? 10?
2015.
2015, a long time.
It is a long time. Doesn't
It's
seem
a
like
very
it.
long time. We've gone through shopping cart change. We've gone through theme change, security issues, which is our big topic. You've rescued it more than once in crises. It's like, if anything happens, it's Debra, help me.
Yeah, it's been a ride. But it's a very comprehensive, large site, and touch wood. I'm glad to say, we have anytime you have a campaign, we get a slew of attacks on the site, and I get these nasty emails that say, it's been attacked 815 times in the last 10 minutes. And sometimes my phone is just there. It's just going boop, boop, boop with more and more of these emails saying that. But thank goodness we must be doing something right, because
right.
we never managed to get in.
And luckily I don't see those emails, so I don't have to freak out constantly.
No, it's, I'd rather see those emails than anything else, because that tells me that they're getting blocked. But, it's just all about being secure. But then what do you do to protect what is on your site? Because you come up with a new course and somebody tries to steal it. And that's why we're here today. But that happened once about a year or so ago. Was it a year or more? We did it. You had some sites stolen, and then but then it happened just again a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, we already had this scheduled.
Yeah, and we've got I assume you're going to be talking about some of that today, the takedown notices and things that you have to do to make sure you protect it. So I don't know if you want to introduce anything else, and otherwise you can
No,
share.
I say let's just dig into it. People your people are smart people. They know what they're here for.
They do. They do. All right, I'm going to add that in, and then you can get started. And again, if anyone has questions, I know a lot of people watch the replay, so you can always drop in comments there and tag either one of us, and we'll see those. On YouTube, I won't necessarily see the tagging, but you can always send an email also. So I'm going to add that screen. This is your screen, Debra, so you can be in control at this point.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, thank you all for being here. I do appreciate it. I'm very grateful to Sharyn for letting us do this, but the purpose of today's presentation is to kind of just go over, I think most people probably know you've got to legally establish copyright over everything that you produce, your website, your blog posts, and especially your courses, because those are your money makers. But how do you do that immediately when you hit publish? Because, I've heard of people printing them out and mailing them to themselves and sending them to the Library of Congress and all kinds of stuff. And it actually can be much easier than that. But then the second thing we're going to do is I'm going to explain to you what proactive steps you can take to prevent people from stealing your content in the first place. And then finally, we're going to learn how to quickly and legally deal with violators. And I should qualify that quickly. Means there is a time sequence to it. You have to give them time to take things down, and you have to tell them a couple of times. But once you've done that, if you follow the steps, then you will have all of the things that you need in place to get other people to help you enforce your copyright and get that content taken down and also removed from the search engine results pages. So, and you know, if you want other people to promote your content or whatever, then they either form a JV with you or they pay you a royalty for using it. So that's the purpose of what we're here for today. So just to show you, to go back to what Sharyn and I were just talking about fairly recently, maybe it was a month or so ago, Sharyn became aware that a number of sites, so at first we thought it was just one, but then we found this one Course Farm, and then we found, I think it's called, I keep calling it Lotto Learn, but I think it's Lot to Learn. But they've got the Business Overwhelm course on there, and then this other one. These are repeat offenders. They've got two different courses. What is it? The How to Use Templates and also Powered Up Processes. And they actually have Powered Up Processes and the Powered Up Process Upgrade for sale on their site too. And if you look in the right sidebars here, you'll see that they have just a ton. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. They just have a ton of different categories. So they're obviously just out there all day, every day, stealing other people's content, which just makes my blood boil. And then there's this other one that was huge. I don't know if it's supposed to be Huge Law or Hugo Law. But all these sites were hawking Sharyn's content courses at hugely discounted prices. So all the hard work that she's put into it, and all of the work that you put in when you buy those courses and you know, update them with your own and improve them with your own input and everything, potentially can be being stolen in this exact same way. But, and like I said, also some of these sites even stole her sales pages content to promote their courses as well. So that's why we're looking into this, and that's why Sharyn wanted to go ahead and have me do this training. And we are, with your permission, we are going to make an offer at the end. But Sharyn put my thumbs under the screws and got me to get you a $100 discount. So we'll move right on to that. But I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible, but cover all the important parts. So feel free to ask any questions that you like. So first of all, what is copyright and what can be copyrighted? Pretty much it's audio, text, videos, courses, any original content that you create. And then they have this term called fixation, which means you have to prove where it was published. And here's where the thing comes in. When your content gets stolen, you're the one that has to prove that you had it first. So, you know, how do you do that quickly and easily without having to go to all kinds of extreme lengths? And you'll see things online where they say, oh, you know, print it out, mail it to yourself, and just hold on to that so that you have it dates and time stamped. The other thing is you can submit it to the Library of Congress, which isn't a bad idea, but it's just really time consuming. And we've all got businesses to run, so we don't always have time to do that. So I've tried to always advise my clients to make sure they have the right things in place to establish their copyright from the moment you click publish. So how do you stop copycats then? You know, people who go and steal your content and put it somewhere else. And I'll tell you in a bit, a little story, short story of another client that actually prompted the creation of this course. But basically, you have to have the right copyright disclosures on your website. And that does not just mean putting the little copyright circle and all rights reserved on the footer of your website. That's not enough. It'll go some way towards proving your copyright, but there are other things that you do that if you do them, that's what enables you to go and get help from the search engines and hosting providers to actually get it taken down. So you also need the DMCA disclosure on your website, which is different from the copyright disclosure. You should also just have other disclosures on your website to protect you from FTC violations, because that can cost you a lot of money. And don't be misled by thinking, oh, I'm too small, they're not going to bother with me. They'll take anybody's money. It all works for them. That's the FTC. But you can prevent copy and paste from your website, but sometimes you may have some things on there that you want people to be able to, click and save and stuff like that. So that's one thing you can do. In some circumstances it works, in others maybe not so much. You should also check any images that you use on your website and make sure that you have full royalty-free images. And also, if they're of individuals or anything, you have to get permission from them, and you should have that. In your in your documentation for your site. You should always be collecting those permissions for testimonials and images or anything else like that you use on your site. That way you're covered. And then also brand your social templates. That's another way to do things. But how do you monitor? And this was one of the discussions that Sharyn and I had, was how do you monitor for people stealing? Well, one of the things with text, you can use Grammarly, you can use Page Tracker, Tinite, and Copyscape. Those all work. For courses and content, you can also put up Google alerts for your content, your course names, and for your own name, because some of Sharyn's are put up as Sharyn Sheldon, not Content Sparks. So you want to do both of those, but those you can set in motion, and then they just send you an email that says, hey, this popped up, and you can look at it and see if it is. Debra Lloyd is a pretty common name, so I get things all the time. But it's quick to just scan it and go, is this something I need to act on or not? So, and I think especially with the proliferation of AI, we're going to see more tools to help people monitor for plagiarism and copycatting and stolen content. So then the question becomes, once you find out who's got your content for sale on their site, as Sharyn did, how do you deal with them? Well, you have to find their domain details, which you can do from a Whois search. You have to demonstrate the offending content, and that means taking screenshots. And I recommend taking those with the clock, date, and time setting in the bottom right hand of your screen on those screenshots, so that they can't deny what day you found it. And then once you gather all that information together, you have to issue a takedown request. And there's a request. It's a 3-step process. There's a request, a notice, and then there's a cease and desist. And each of them, you have to give them a certain amount of time, and it has to be kind of a reasonable amount of time. To some people, reasonable is 24 hours, take it down, or I'm moving on. Some people think 48 or 72 hours, but you don't really need to give people much longer than that, because that is the initial, what they call the request. I think on here I've got 7 business days to comply. That's pretty generous, I think. I usually start that one out with 2 to 3 days tops. And then you send out a formal takedown notice if they still haven't complied. And I also grab additional screenshots with the date and time showing that they've still got it up there. And I put that in the email that I send to them. And so that's your formal notice. And then the last thing is you send a cease and desist notice if they still don't comply. You send a cease and desist notice. And you need those 3 pieces of documentation in order to send a search engine removal request. Because if they don't comply, you've got all the documentation to prove to Google, Bing, and hosting service providers who are legally, by law, required to help you force them to take down that information, your content, because you have the documentation to prove why you were the first one to produce it and to publish it. You've got the documentation to show that you've given them a chance to take it down voluntarily. You've asked them nicely, you've asked them nicely again, and then you've told them cease and desist or I will take action. And at that point, you have all the documentation that you need to go to Google, Bing, or the hosting service provider, which the course shows you how to find all the information. But you can then go to them and you can say, hey, this website has stolen content on it. Please get the content removed, taken down, or the site taken down. And because they're legally required to help you, the search engines and the service providers, the hosting providers, will take quick action on following up on that, because they don't want this out there either. The search engines don't want to be participating in this, but legally, the law requires that they do that. But they can't do anything. If you go to them and say, hey, they've stolen my stuff, can you take it down? They'll go, sure. When did you publish it? When did they start? When did you discover they were showing it? Proof that you've asked them, proof that you've reminded them that you've asked them, and proof that you've told them in no uncertain terms to cease and desist. And if you've got all that information already gathered together and documented, then you've got everything that you need to do it. Now, you can do this yourself, or you can do it through companies, but the companies charge you anywhere from $149 to $199 per instance, and that is per product. So if they steal more than one product, for each product that they're showing of yours, that company wants to charge you that $200 for to issue those notices on your behalf. Well, guess what? A lot will just take it down with the first notice. Some will wait for the second one. Some of them will be real hardcore and just wait until you do a cease and desist. And some will even not do it then. But the thing is, you're going to establish your copyright with the right disclosures on your site. And you're going to monitor for pirates and thieves. Then you're going to enforce your copyright. And then you go to Big G, Bing, and the hosting providers to ask them to help you get it taken down. And so inside the course, because there's specific verbiage that you need to use, I have all the legal disclosures. Now, I am not a lawyer, and I didn't stay at the Holiday Inn last night, or whoever that group is that has that ad, but legal disclosures, you can get them from all over the place. But the ones that I use, I actually licensed, and I'm licensed to let you use them as well on your sites because you're a client of mine through buying this site. But I will give you the example legal disclosures, and I'll give them to you in text format so you can copy and paste. But sometimes that's easy for putting on your website. But I also have them as PDFs and as Word documents, so you can tweak them and add anything that you want to do. But if you're at all unsure, you should definitely check with your own lawyer. I think that's what you did, Sharyn, right? Because I wrote the original ones for your site, and you had your lawyer check them over. Am I right with that?
I don't think I actually had a lawyer look at it. I just used the disclosures and then edited as needed based on my site.
Right. But yeah. I know that I think that was one of the first things that we did when I started.
And you organize them all on one page, so they're also easy to find. Like there's a menu at the top, and people can click. But then the privacy one had to be a dedicated link, because there's so many places where you need to prove that you have the privacy terms.
Yeah, that's a good point, because usually there are requirements that you have privacy and terms and conditions, and you want to make it as easy as possible for people to find those. So what I do to cover all bases so that people can't say, oh, I couldn't find it. I have an all legal disclosures page, which has them all alphabetically top to bottom. But if you were looking at that on a phone, I think you'd have a dislocated thumb by the time you were done spinning through it. So I also, right at the very top and also at the bottom, I have it coded out so that there are links to the individual pages, because that also covers you for GDPR and also the CCC, the California one, whatever that is, because we had to do that. And you can see that in Sharyn's footer on her site. You can see exactly how that works. Well, the example documents that I've provided inside the course actually give you all the code so that you can just copy and paste and put that up there. You will have to check that code once you've got it up there to make sure, because if you don't name the pages exactly as I did, those links might not quite work, but it's pretty easy to figure out. You'll get a full checklist. And I'm actually working on Sharyn's example of creating a workbook. I originally thought, oh, it doesn't need workbook, but now I've had a few more people using this. I'm thinking that maybe a workbook would be helpful. I don't need a workbook because I've done it so many times now for other people. But I'm thinking that probably would be. So I will add that to the course within the next month. And obviously you'll all get access to that as well. And I'm also thinking I might start a private Facebook group just for sort of some additional support. And I have pushed this course out one time before, and then I've gone back and tweaked it based on feedback, because I think when you do something a lot yourself, it's very easy to fall into like missing steps or whatever. Don't think I'd missed any, but I clarified a few. So that helped. And but all the legal disclosures that you need, which the legal disclosures themselves, if you actually go to a lawyer, even if you use like law.com or whatever else, it probably costs you a few $100s. The other thing is the services that will send these notices out on your behalf. Like I said, they charge up to $200 per instance, and that's per domain and per product. So that can rack up pretty quickly. So the way that I've done this is to make it so that people can just buy it and you can use it on as many products as you want and as many domains as you want. So just to recap, this course is the result of me working to help clients to get their courses and content removed from multiple offending sites. And I've been doing that. The first time I did it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. But we have been able to quickly prove and enforce the copyright over the original works to restore faith and credibility for those websites, for the blogs, for the courses, and for graphics too. I had a local business that another spa in town, another spa in the same town actually stole the graphics that I created for them for their social marketing. I can't believe that one. But anyway, so, but the course is designed to arm creators and course creators, writers, with the tools and knowledge that they need to stop content thieves in their tracks and send them off to target, because they'll just go for lower hanging fruit that don't know what, why, or how, or even worse, don't even bother to protect their own hard work, which I find unbelievable. But anyway, so your next steps on this, there's a Content Sparks exclusive offer. Sharyn, do you want to cover something else or answer some questions maybe?
Why don't we answer some questions first? Okay. I mean, we'll share the link and everything for going more in depth on all of this and all the examples, but I've got, here's one question. What about international theft?
I would say, I mean, if you're based in the US, and like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is if you're based in the US and your site is in the US, the disclosures that I'm providing are fully applicable. I don't know how they would hold up in a different country, but
if it's Google, if it's something like taking it down on Google or a hosting company, you're saying the copyright might only apply to the US?
Google will take it down regardless of what country they're from. But I don't know about enforcing copyright in a different country, but you can certainly do it here in the US. Typically, most of Europe follow pretty much the same rules as we do. And if you have the information, I believe that it would stand up. But I couldn't swear to it because I haven't actually done it for anyone who was outside of the US, to be perfectly honest.
I've found that most of them where I've seen theft were not in the US. They're like India or Singapore.
Yeah,
or,
it's not so much where they're located, it's where they're trying to sell it.
Mhm.
So
Well,
if they're promoting it and selling it in the US and
right.
Europe, I think this process would stand up. But that's a really good question. I should. My nephew is a lawyer in London. I should ask him. But he's in mergers and acquisitions. But I should ask him if he knows anybody who deals with copyright over there. But I haven't actually myself. I haven't used the process over there, so I have to be honest and say I'm not 100% sure. But you know what? It's a lot better than doing nothing.
Yeah, and I found, like you said before, even just sending that first notice for the companies that do this regularly, like steal a lot of content, just sending the one notice, they just take it down because, why would they fight it? So long as you send one or two notices, they're doing so much of it. And it's not like they're ranking in Google. They're just doing it to get, I don't know. They think they'll sell something. I don't even know if they're making sales, but you still don't want it out there.
Yeah, I don't know, because it hurts the credibility of you and your company. This whole thing started with a client of mine, Bonnie. She is a medical legal consultant and a very smart lady. And she started I built her website for her, and a couple of months later she called me up and she went, "Oh my God, I've been blogging and I've been working so hard and I've got all these great articles." And she said, "And this woman who is a competitor of mine is stealing them word for word." She said, "It's just copy and pasted. She hasn't changed a thing. She's not done anything. It's the exact copy of my stuff." And she was like, I'm beside myself. I don't know what to do." And I said, "Well, fortunately, you're covered." And she was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, when I built your site, I put all the disclosures on there so we can prove." And I went through the process. And that's when I sat there and went, it had never occurred to me. I was just in the habit of doing those disclosures because it's smart and it helps you be FTC compliant as well. But here, for the first time, I was sitting there going, wow, when it's David Perdue. He told me one time, "You have the curse of knowledge. You think if you know it, everyone knows it." And I was like, "Oh gosh, yeah, And he said, "Yeah, you should be putting that out there." So that's what made me sit here and go, "Yeah, I should do this," because we looked, and when I saw how expensive it was to send out one of those letters, and in her case, we did have to go to the second before she actually took it down. And then I've had another one since then, who is a client that does social media marketing, and she had someone steal several of her sites and copy those. And so we were able to get those taken down. But we had to go right full through to the cease and desist. And, they'd done it for roofers, plumbers, electricians, they had just gone through all of her different sites and stolen the lot.
So let me ask you something, and everybody who's listening now, drop any questions into the comments because I'm looking out for them. So say you have a lot of content.
Mm-hmm.
How it's time consuming just to go through and do all the research and send letters. How do you decide which things to really go after versus, this person's never going to be seen anyway? The trade-off of how you spend your time.
Yeah. Well, it's systematized so that you could pretty easily pass it over to a VA, and all you have to do is give her the URL of the offending content, because if it's just a blog post or whatever, you can't really have them take the site down, but you can have them take the post down. However, if they are repeat offenders, then actually the hosting companies will take them down in a heartbeat if they're known to be repeat copycat offenders. So that's a good thing to know. But basically what I do is I look at it and I go, is this, if it's a course, then I think it's obvious it's a money site. Or if it's a course, those are the ones you focus on first. And then if it's blog posts, it really kind of depends on your niche. In Bonnie's case, that was part of how she established her credibility and her knowledge, demonstrated her knowledge and experience. So it was infuriating because she had put a lot of time into writing that stuff. So she was pretty mad, but she was also initially really scared that she had no way to stop it. And the way that you proactively stop it is you have the right disclosures in place in the first place, because if you don't and you can't prove, and that's what I mean when I say about establishing your copyright when you hit publish, if you've got those disclosures, not just the copyright statement, but the copyright disclosure and the DMCA disclosure on your site as well, with the warning, do not copy this stuff, it's licensed. It also says on there that it's tracked. And technically it is tracked because you setting up Google alerts, but that's what you can do, is you can set up Google alerts for your, your important content, for your important articles. And then if you get pings on those, then you have to go look at them. But you can set a VA on doing that. And that, if they've got the system and they know exactly what to do and the steps, then it can be, relatively easy to follow up on, but it's also a hell of a lot cheaper when you buy once and you can do it forever.
Yeah. So basically the system is you set up you have your disclosures, you set up the alerts, and then you have your different communication documents ready to go.
Yeah. And then those are all created so that you can, use them as a template and just put in the URL of the offending page, you really only need to go through the process of finding, you have to kind of go through the process of finding the contact for using who is to find the contact. And most of them, you'll find they have privacy enabled, which is another reason why I never use privacy on my sites, or rarely use privacy, private registration, because it's one of the factors that Google looks at to rank things. They look, do you have a contact address? Does the address tie in with the domain registration? All that stuff that bots do in a nanosecond. But those are credibility factors that people look at. But there has to, by law, be a contact address, and so you can send stuff to that, and then you can send your warnings and your notices to those addresses that you get from that. If you can't find something on the thing. And there's one other thing I should mention. There is a scam that goes around where people will send you an email saying that you've stolen their content. And I've had that. Actually, I don't know if I've added that. I got one fairly recently and I took a copy of it. But I'll add that into the resources in the course as well, so that you can look and see, because I get those. I manage sites for a lot of people in the medical field, and a lot of people in the medical consulting field. And for some reason, they get a lot of these jokers that come up and say, hey, you've stolen my content. And it's like, I know they didn't, because I wrote it. No.
Actually, there was another thing that I was going to share, another tip you'd given me, another thing, but I want to put up just the banner for the course if you guys want to get more in depth and get all the templates and stuff like that. I made a little pretty link in there.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the coupon was...
The coupon is Content Sparks 100.
Yeah.
But
so you guys, if you click on that, you will see all the details. I think you have another slide. And
I do, but I've got the wrong link in. Well, I've just sent them to the homepage actually.
Oh, okay. Well, this is my affiliate link. And you have another special on here, didn't you? Before I share this other tip that
I do. So the Content Spark special saves you 100. The course is regularly $249.
Right.
And I just did a straight $100 offer, so it's $149, which is about the cheapest you can get one thing sent out for. But you can use this on all the sites that you own, all the courses you own, and as many products as you own. It's valid through Monday. What's that? The 4th of March?
That's the 4th.
Yeah, the 4th at midnight PST, because that's Content Spark server time. That covers everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. And I threw on here a fast action bonus for people who take quick action. The first 15 people, I can only do it for 15 because I've only got so much time, but I'll do a 30-minute Zoom strategy session with you to specifically to look at your disclosures and everything else, and help you get those up if that's what you need. Or if you want to discuss it. Yeah, I mean, the booking form will ask you what you want to do. We'll have 30 minutes to do it. But that's for the first 15, and I plan on doing those in March. So the first people who buy will receive an email from me with that booking link.
That's really helpful. That's worth a lot. I can tell you. I can tell you based on the bills that I get from Debra every time I have an issue. That's worth a lot.
Yeah, it is.
There was another tip, a couple other things actually that happened when we had an issue recently. One was you had me set up an email address that was just DMCA at
Oops. Looks like maybe Sharyn's locked up.
Oh,
frozen. Oh, your voice is back. There you go. You're back. It froze just for a second at my end. I'm not sure. But
okay.
I had forgotten about that. Yeah, DMCA. See, I come up with things like that and then I forget.
Well, I have it also so I could filter, but also we had done it because when somebody receives an email that's from that address, it makes it look like we're even more aggressive about it.
Yeah.
About chasing these people, and then they're quicker to take it down. It's just one.
That's really impressive, Sharyn. I am so impressed. I've forgotten we talked about that.
What a great idea.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes, like I say, I'm doing these things and I go, oh yeah, we should do this. It is. I mean, some of it is almost like just positioning yourself so that people know I'm dealing with somebody who understands this, who knows what to do. And I don't want to mess with them, because if they come after me, it's going to cost me a lot more than just money. It could cost them their entire business. So if you present yourself and your whole situation as knowing how to deal with it, which you will, then they're far more likely to go, ooh, yeah, let's go find somebody who doesn't know what, when, why, or how.
Yeah. And I filtered them all into a folder in Gmail too. So it doesn't, you get so many emails these days. It's insane.
Yeah.
Just have to set up a system. I don't get a ton of this, luckily, because another thing that helps with, at least with products and courses, is if the price is a little bit higher, for somebody to steal it, they have to buy it first.
Yes.
So if the case with some of the examples you showed, somebody had to buy that. I can't figure out who, but somebody had to buy it in order to then sell it. So they're not going to necessarily buy a whole ton. But with blog posts, that kind of content that's out there, then it's tougher, and you got to set up those alerts.
It is.
Alerts.
But with blog posts and things, I think what you'll find is it's usually individuals. And well, that's what I've seen anyway. My experience, it's been individuals who've thought that they were cleverer than they were. And they've gone, phew. Those are the guys that usually just respond to the first, if not the second. Sometimes, when we sent the second notice out on Bonnie's site, she got an email back and said, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this. I've told my person to take it down. But she promises it will be down within 2 days. And she's doing it now. So they obviously went into a legitimate panic, which she should have done, but, you get other people who are just like, whatever. But I think when, like you say, that's a really good thing is if you have an email address that is DMCA at your domain, that also, because I can pretty much guarantee you probably, I don't know, at least 80 to 90% of the people who are stealing content don't actually read the disclosures before they steal the content.
Of course not.
They just sit there and think they'll get away with it. Oh, nobody will notice me. But once they get found and you send those letters, and that's what I mean. It's very specific verbiage that you have to use. And the reason for that is that's what Google and the hosting providers can hang their hat on when they go and say, hey, we're taking down this content. It's, a proven copyright violation. And if the people actually have the nerve to come back to them and say, no, it's not, they want to have all that documentation. Here's the thing. If you go to those companies that will charge you $150 to $200 per instance, guess what they do? They make you fill in a form on their site that goes and does all the legwork for them. And you fill that in, and then that filters it. They've got it automated so that it just goes and issues the notice. So they charge you $200 for that. And honestly, you could set that up. That's my next thing with this system, is to set up those kind of systems on the back end so that it can just be automated. And all you have to do on your own site is go in and fill your own form in, and it will issue that. Probably I'll do it through Google Docs or something. It'll get issued through that, and you'll be able to do it. Yeah. But I'm not quite that automated yet. But when I add that, I will offer it to current owners, current buyers of this course at a greatly reduced rate, and then I'll sell it.
Well, what I did is, you did for me, especially as part of, our whole setup with supporting the website, you did some documentation emails for me, and then I just copy that each time. Like I have it saved in a folder in Gmail, and I just copied each time. And then of course I have to go in and change and, find who it is and put in the URLs and stuff. Yeah. But, that helps once you have the verbiage set up and emails set up, but you have to know it in the first place. And I'm convinced that a couple of the companies where I found out some things were stolen because some company contacted me and said that they would take it down for me.
Yeah,
I'm convinced that those companies are doing this
because they're the ones that are stealing it in the first place.
Yeah,
I remember you saying that.
Yeah. That's I suspect that, my hypothesis.
Sadly, I think you might be right. At very, very minimum in some cases. In other cases, it might be somebody, I've had one client where it was somebody that she used to be in partnership with, and they went their separate ways, but he clocks everything she does and stole multiple sites.
And I know there are people who have had this happen in a couple of the course communities that I'm in. I definitely saw it in New Zealand, people saying that they'd had their courses stolen and they were, freaking out. What do? They saw somebody else selling it on like Udemy. I can never pronounce it.
I don't know. I always call it Udemy.
Udemy, like university.
It's the University Academy. Udemy. I don't know.
Is that where it comes from? Okay.
I don't know. That's, I'm that person who drives around town reading the private number plates, trying to figure out what they say.
Okay.
Maybe it comes from that, looking at things and trying to figure out patterns with them. Session. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. I don't see any other questions in here. So I'm going to actually just put us both back on screen. Whoops.
So the one thing is you need the coupon code.
Yes.
And the coupon code is as easy as it could be. It's Content Sparks 100.
Right. Scrolling along the bottom of the screen there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I definitely recommend you take a look at the course and everything in it, because it will make this whole process much easier. I mean, just having the templates, knowing the process to go through is well worth it versus spending that amount just to have someone take it down once, one thing, because you want to protect it in the first place. Mm-hmm. And, make sure you have everything in place. And then it is much easier and systemized, and you can, if you have a VA, have them do it, or set aside a little bit of time to check in those Google alerts, especially, which is actually another good reason to have a course name that is unique. Mm-hmm. Because, I like our name Content Sparks, but the alerts for Content Sparks are so general, because everyone who uses the term, and so Content Sparks sparks a discussion about yada, yada, yada.
Right.
I get alerts that are just useless most of the time. So rare. Yeah. But a course name will show up, or my name, just because I spell it differently. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mom. So there are very few people who have that out there, or a combination of the two. So that helps people find it that way. Or you could probably put in, if it's a blog post, not just the title, but some of the actual content of the post.
And if it's a blog post, then you may be able to find it real quickly in Grammarly and stuff like that. And I know Copyscape, you can definitely put your content in there, and you can put alerts on that. They have like a free service and they have a paid service. The free service, you'd have to copy and paste it in and then do the search. But with the paid service, they'll send you alerts. And as I say, with the proliferation of AI, it's just, I think, unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. So that's why I'm really big on being proactive, because if you proactively take those steps to protect your content in the first place, it's really easy for you to prove exactly when and where you publish that and establish first use. So it's
make sure it's unique to start with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Your own unique content, and not all AI generated.
Yeah. And well, yeah. Please. AI, I see so much stuff just on my news feed. I'm horrified at some of the sites that I sit there and read and go, this is so obviously AI. And also, who's editing this stuff? They're not even catching the most basic spelling mistakes. But and just,
Wait a minute, you put the spelling mistakes in so that it's not AI.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
No, I can't either. The obsessive compulsive in me just can't let that go. Just can't.
No. Well, that was really, really helpful. Good to know. I hope everybody got good information out of that. I see that. Thanks for information discussions, and great topic. So everybody's really excited about that. Oh, Stephen's here. From one website manager to another, looking forward to the session. Yep.
Oh,
so
I'm glad.
I hope that was helpful. Thank you for taking the time to come on and talk about all of this.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was really helpful. Thanks for that.
And you're reminding me things I suggested that I'd even forgotten I'd suggested.
And now you can add them.
Now I can add them to the course. I sure will. But and if anybody asks any questions in the groups, if they at Debra Lloyd, then I will be sure to respond directly as well. So.
Yeah, you're in there. I'll make sure that that you're in there, both of them.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know you'll see it, and if you don't see me responding, but I will be paying attention. So
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for that coupon, Content Sparks 100. I'll send that out also in an email because I'll send out a link to the replay for this.
okay, great.
All right.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
everyone for joining in today and listening and watching. We'll look out for any questions. All right.
Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care now. Bye.